G'day, welcome to Deeper Meaningfuls with Furzey. On this episode of the pod, I'm chatting with a bloke who goes by the name Bushman Mick. Mick is a unique and extreme person. He has walked away from the mainstream system and he's been living as a nomad out of his van for the past 6 years. Things we talk about in this pod are how he lives off $50 a week, fishing and foraging for a majority of his food, the simple key to being healthy, the value of slowing down and getting in touch with the real physical world, and the magic of intuition, plus heaps of other fascinating stuff. I've never met anyone like Mick. I found him on his YouTube channel, Bushman Mick, which is excellent. Go check it out. I must say, I learned a lot from this chat. I love his philosophy on life. He's got a lot of wisdom to share, and it was a pleasure chatting with him. So thank you, Mick. Now, if you're enjoying the pod, please do me a favor, share it with your mates, do me a rating wherever you listen. Really appreciate it. Now, here's my conversation with Bushman Mick.
Right, we got the same haircut at the front.
I know. I was noticing yours. I saw your video, dude, and I was like, fuck, maybe that's the only option I've got left. Maybe I need the samurai patch at the back.
Yeah, bro, it's coming in. I'm bringing it in.
You're bringing it back. What do you call? What's the official Mick name for your hairstyle?
We just call it a Bushman Mick.
Yeah. Have you got dreads back there?
Yeah, I got dreads, man.
Yeah. Wow. Dreads, yeah. Cool. Yeah. Cool. I guess there's, it's you can't really see what you're doing back there, so you just let it run its course.
That's it.
Yeah. Mate, thanks for doing this, man. I appreciate it. I'm stoked to chat with you.
Thanks for having me on, bro. This is my first podcast ever.
Really?
And yeah.
Welcome to the party.
I started YouTube only 3 months ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Started everything 3 months ago, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what made you start trying to put things out there?
It goes back probably a year and a half to 2 years ago when I'd just come out of a remote location in far north Queensland where I was with a group of people and we were just living off the land. We were living on coconuts and fish and crabs and bush tucker. And it's a bit of a yearly gathering that we have up there. And it's in a really remote rainforest location, private bay, no reception. And I just come out of this amazing, getaway location, and I went to another festival called Mushroom Valley in central Queensland, around there somewhere near Mackay. Then I left this festival and I started driving, and I'm cruising down in Gypsy Van, my most recent Delica, and the engine just stopped. And I've stopped on the side of the Bruce Highway. And at the same time, I was feeling really, really sick. So I jumped in the back, tried to have a nap, sleep it off. Next minute, this local tow truck driver's seen me and he's pulled over and he's like, mate, you need a tow. And I'm like, listen, I'm not feeling the best. How about you just pull me onto a bit of flat ground in a safer spot? I'm going to try and fix it myself. I'm a mechanic. I'll do it myself. So he gives me a tow just like 20 metres down the road. And that's where I started. I was broken down. Like literally my whole journey had just come to a complete stop after, say, 4 years or so. And I had all this time to really think about what I was doing. So long story short, I was bunkering down at a hostel in Rockhampton waiting for my van to get a complete engine rebuild.
Oh no. That was bad.
Worst case scenario.
Oh dude.
And while I was there, coincidentally the hostel I was staying at was right next to a gym. I just started going to the gym every day, keeping myself focused, staying in a positive state of mind, not allowing what had happened to take over and put me in a negative state, because my home was gone. I was basically on foot from that stage. And I just started training again. I just started lifting the weights, kicking the bag, doing all the stuff that I usually do when I'm training and that. And I just started tapping in again to what it is I'm meant to be doing in life. And that's when it started coming to me, the realization that I could no longer hide away from social media and the mainstream world. It was time to come back and start putting myself out there and fulfilling my purpose in the mainstream world. And so it started off with a big decision to buy the latest, biggest, greatest iPhone at the time. And I had no idea what I was doing. So I've got this phone. I've sat there and I'm just recording myself talking to this phone, feeling so awkward, not knowing what I'm doing, just ranting about stuff.
Yeah.
And I've got like the most awkward videos, and that's how it began. And from there, I started on Instagram, and after a year mucking around Instagram, I knew that I had to get on YouTube. All my mates in Melbourne, they're all successful in their businesses and that. They're all like, dude, you got to get on YouTube. This is where you're really going to get the exposure that you need.
Mm.
And I was in Melbourne not too long ago. My best mate was there. He was also on the same journey at the moment of starting a YouTube channel. He just told me what laptop to get, what programs and all that. And I literally, just 3 months ago, bought all this gear, learned everything, and just started pumping out. Like from Melbourne, I had to go up to Byron Bay, saw my bros, saw my friends there, said bye, went up to Cairns, saw my mates there, finalised the last bits and pieces of technology, the microphone and all that, and how to use it. And I've just gone on this massive journey across the Gulf of Carpentaria, which is like the top bit. Yeah.
Yeah, the bite out of the out of the top of Australia.
Yeah. And that was my first proper YouTube video.
Okay.
And yeah, and then from there I was
just faking it till you make it, bro.
100%, bro.
That's it, man. You just dive in.
Deep end, and I don't know
I'll figure it out on the way.
But I know I got to do this.
Yeah.
And it's done my head in the technology, learning the Apple Mac and all these things that go wrong. And I'm the kind of person from a very young age, I just gave things a go out of necessity to be able to survive and to be able to just get something done, you know?
Well, it is interesting that you are now you're dealing with both complete ends of the spectrum. You know, you've come from spending time literally living off the land. You couldn't be more grounded if you tried. Like that is the epitome of you know, nature. And now you're trying to figure out how to edit and upload a video in 1080p and make sure your compression size is not too aggressive, that you know, all that kind of bullshit, and trying to figure out what f-stop you need to have your camera on. And
I'm a bit extreme. I know I'm an extreme dude, and now I'm juggling the extremes of both paradigm, you know?
Yeah.
And
great,
it's all
man.
good. I love it.
Yeah. Well, it seems to be going well, dude. I think you it makes perfect sense that you would be getting some traction with your videos, because you're on a pretty fascinating adventure in life. Okay, so hang on. I'd love to go back a bit further. You were doing what started this journey before documenting it? Like, why did you leave the world and go, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to go and literally like live off the land and find food. And what was the catalyst for all this?
I'll give you the full story. I was very much kind of pushed onto this journey.
Interesting.
I was living a normal life in Melbourne. I grew up in Melbourne. I was a city boy. Yeah, always loved fishing, camping, adventuring, exploring. But I was very much grounded in running business in Melbourne, making money, paying GST dust statements, driving fast cars, going to nightclubs, going to the gym, bodybuilding, powerlifting, all the normal stuff that we do down there.
What were you doing for work?
I had a small transport company that I built up myself, starting with a $3,000 Toyota Hilux that was rusty and 2 different tones of yellow. And I started off doing gum tree jobs, moving furniture for people, pick up the mattress, pick up a piece of furniture, pick up a.
Yeah.
I did one job. We picked up a spa bath, like
Oh,
a proper
Jesus.
jacuzzi on the back of a ute. It was the dodgiest thing ever. Going through the streets of Melbourne, me and my best mate did it, and I built up this small business called More Than Moving. And I ended up becoming a niche business, doing deliveries for photo shoots, corporate events, parties, and so on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it was great. It lasted a long time. I probably got a good, 8 years or so doing that. Ended up having a few boys work for me, running a couple vans, small truck.
Yeah, so things are going okay. You're earning some money.
Great.
You've got your business happening. You're
married.
You're your own boss.
Yeah, I was married as well.
Okay.
And mate, we were going to have a child. We had a child on the way, and Jen, I think that was probably the very first thing that happened was there was a miscarriage. She miscarried a couple months in.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, man. My wife and I have been through that as well. It's a weird. Yeah, it's real weird. It's very hard it was really hard on my wife. I'm sure it was very hard on your partner at the time.
Really hard on her, yeah.
Yeah.
And she really wanted a baby at the time, and I felt really sorry for her because she was really hell-bent on having a child. It was the main thing for her. Anyway,
how far along were you guys?
I think it was 2 months.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was 2 months, 2 or 3.
Yeah, okay.
So still quite early.
Yep.
And then our relationship broke down. I ended up leaving her, and we're going through a divorce. And I've moved out with 2 of my younger mates to an apartment and started off fresh there.
Okay.
And
I mean, that in itself is a bit of a shake. It's a big shake up. You're like, okay, I'm kind of starting again. What am I doing? Yeah. Yep. Okay. So something's happening.
Yeah, something's going down, and I've just trying to done what I've always done and trying to make a positive out of a negative situation.
Yeah, cool.
So I moved in with boys, good vibes, lots of laughs. They're a couple of years younger than me as well, which moved right next to my new gym. So I'm just walking to the gym every day. I'm running business. And then there was also a scenario when my main workers, he was going through a loss in his family as well. And so I started struggling in the business because he wasn't present. He wasn't able to come to work, and he needed to take time out. And I had a lot of trouble finding new workers because I'd really invested a lot of my time and energy into my main worker. And it was just felt like it was getting too hard. And really, it wasn't a big deal because I'd been saving up to buy a house. I was very conservative back then with money. I was always about saving. I was very disciplined. So I came to next minute I bought myself a new car. Right as I moved out, I bought myself a new car. I'd started going to these car meets, like Nissan Z Club meets. And
Nissan Z.
Yeah, Nissan Z.
Dude, I that's like my favourite car, the Datsuns. Like, mate, I when I lived in the States, the first thing I did was bought a Datsun 240Z, man.
Yeah. Man, those things are epic. I love the 240s.
Yeah.
I had the 370, like the new school.
Yeah, okay.
And one night, I really wanted to get an exhaust on this thing, do some modifications.
Yeah.
And I joined this Facebook group called Melbourne Z Club. And one night, I'm at my sister's house, seeing her and my nephew, Phoenix. And I seen a post on Facebook, and they're all at this bridge. And I'm like, I know where they are. They're on this bridge over the freeway. I'm going to go down there. So I went down on the way home, and lo and behold, they're all there. All these Zs, 370s, 300s, probably some 240s and 60s and that. Jump out to all these young people there, and they're really welcoming. We're having a bit of a yarn, and there's this woman there in high heels and jeans, looking smoking hot. Go and introduce myself to her. I tell her my age. She's got the same car as me, but in candy apple red. Mine was like platinum titanium, which is like a silver.
Yeah. And
I've just met this woman, and over the next couple of weeks, we've cultivated a relationship, and we meet up with our cars, our identical cars, and we'd like cruise around, the back streets and the back hills of Melbourne and have a bit of fun and that. And so, although things weren't going too well with my business and with my recent breakup, I found a lot of positivity in this new relationship that I was in and living with the boys. They were really good support for me, really good help. I remember one of them took me out shopping and got me to buy all new clothes and stuff, and helped me get back out on the market.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And over the next couple months, I've Jody, her name was Jody, and we had a lot in common, like a lot, and we both had a love for nature and being outdoors. So next minute, I've bought a Mitsubishi Delica van, full drive, and we've started going out bush and going camping just around Victoria, Melbourne.
Not quite as sick as a Nissan Z.
Yeah,
slightly less sick.
Oh, it's way less sick. It looks like a Tarago on steroids.
Yeah. More functional, but less sick. I get it. Yeah.
Oh, I still had the 370. I had both cars.
Of course. Yeah. You've still got your one foot in, one foot out at the moment.
That's it. Racing during the week and then camping on the weekends.
Yeah.
And things were going really good. I was feeling really good about my new life, and our lease, the new lease that we're in, was starting to come towards the end. And I'd actually decided to just close up the business, give up on it. I actually ended up just handing it over to my main worker, and I just moved on from it. And I decided that we were going to just go on a sick adventure around Australia and start living. She was also having trouble with her business.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't going well. So there's all these situations. We're just pointing towards it's time to live and do what you really love to do. And that is to go on adventure, go fishing, camp, do something different. Like, I had quite a bit of money behind me, so I didn't have to work. Money wasn't... Sure. I could take a year off or 2 years off, really.
So and you were feeling called to kind of break away from the grind and get out of the city, and just like, I gotta get away from this.
I was sick of the grind. It was taking a bit of a toll. I had to go into courts as well for divorces and all that, and it was just like, it was the last straw for me, just seeing how everything really worked. I was like, it left a bad taste in my mouth. I'm like, this isn't right, and I don't agree with this, so I'm going to go and live on my own terms for a bit and go on a holiday. And I'm sure there's heaps of bits I've missed out, but that was the gist of it. There was a few friendships that broke down at the same time, which also added to that, to that confirmation that you're doing the right thing, getting out of Melbourne.
It is interesting too when you have a bit of perhaps a spiritual awakening, perhaps that's what was happening, or at least a shift in your consciousness and the way that you view your place in the world. It's hard to maintain some specific relationships when you do that, because some of those relationships are not based on the new view that you have of the world and of your life. Like, for instance, I had a good chunk of my life where I was, not a good chunk, but for a little while, my early 20s, and when I was just partying and drinking a lot. Yeah. And
pretty normal.
Totally. And those drinking, and there's still a few of those guys that were drinking buddies of mine that that are still doing that. And every now and again, I kind of bump into them or get the invite to go and do that. And it's just not where I am. It's just not,
it's just not what I want. Yeah.
And it's a trick. Yeah. And it's an interesting thing, I think, at the time, when it's a hard thing for us to cut ties with the relationships that we have. You know, one thing that I keep learning from doing this podcast is the connection is everything for us humans. You know, if we don't have connection, we feel nothing else really matters. So to actively sever some of the connections that you have in your life, even though they may in reality be slightly toxic, it's a hard thing to do. So
yes, it is very.
Yeah, it's interesting at that point in your life, to be like, it doesn't surprise me that some of those relationships are breaking down, and you're trying to find where the new Mick is settling into. Yeah,
there was another thing I'll add in there, and it was something new that I'd ever experienced. I never experienced it before. Just after I'd met Jody, we started having the same. I don't know if you call them coincidences, but I call them synchronicities. I started seeing these crazy ass numbers. Every time I look at the phone or somewhere, we started seeing this number 1111. Okay. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And she was seeing it too, and then it became like just so powerful that we couldn't ignore it. And then there was other numbers too, like triple numbers, and it was full on from basically a weekend of knowing her, and I felt like that too. Those signs, those numbers, was like also confirmation that I had to go along with this journey with this woman.
It was almost
it's a big thing,
almost
bro.
like your follow the white rabbit moment from The Matrix.
Yes, 100%.
You
and
know,
I'm thinking about that a lot, the Matrix movie. I don't know if you've seen a lot of videos.
That's the best documentary that's ever been made.
Yeah. 100%.
Oh, dude. I rewatch that every year or so, and it blows my mind every time.
Have you seen my other videos on I Escaped the Matrix or anything? I've done a couple.
I've seen probably 4. I don't... Yeah. Maybe I did see that one where you were talking about... Yeah. Oh no, actually, okay. Well, maybe I haven't seen it. I know I've seen the thumbnail because I was flicking through your channel.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's well, you're doing the real life version of stepping out of the Matrix, aren't you?
Yeah. So there was some spiritual awakening things going on there, and where I was at that point in life, I would not have considered myself very spiritual at all. And I remember, before I even said anything to Jody, I'd just do what you normally do when you don't know something. You jump on Google and you Google it. And I'd type it in, and it came up with all these theories, you know. And, yeah, maybe we'll come into that a bit later on if it goes that way. But there's a lot of theories about this 1111 and these numbers and stuff. And, yeah, it was a lot of stuff happened in a short period of time, and it basically paved the path, and it was a very obvious path, and I just accepted that call and just did it. And we did it, and it was the best thing I've ever done in my whole life, leaving Melbourne. Yeah.
Very cool, man. Yeah, wow. So how keen was Jody? Was she just as all in as you were?
Yeah. We had and still have a really amazing connection. She was going through hard times with her business, and with her living situation at the time, I don't think she was too happy there. The lease was also coming towards an end, and so it was the best. It was the best for both of us just to hit the road and start living.
Mm. And so you've been on the road ever since?
Ever since, yeah. 24th of August, 2018, I've been on the road.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, man, that's a long time. So you've been doing the nomad life for nearly 7 years.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to go on a big adventure, go camping. Next minute,
what was the plan? How long did you plan to do it?
Indefinitely. I was like, let's just go. We'll go for a year and see how it goes.
Okay.
And a couple months in, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going back, Jody. And she's like, yeah, me neither. I'm like, all right, let's just do it.
We're doing it. We're
Yep.
hobos now. Love
Yep.
it or hate it. We're
We're homeless.
That's awesome.
We're full on
Wow.
homeless. And being homeless, I love being homeless or houseless. And I was
Yeah.
thinking a lot, talking about being homeless, being on the street, in the bush, wherever you are all the time. You know, you share the streets with everyone. You share the streets with homeless people. You get to know people on a personal level and hear their stories. And the only difference between me and a quote unquote homeless person is basically just your state of mind. That's all. And maybe a bottle of
Yeah.
beer or something, alcohol or
Yeah,
some kind of.
potentially a pretty intense
Yeah.
drug addiction as well. but
Yeah.
yeah, it's well because even someone who is mentally unwell or an addict of some sort and has found themselves in a position where they're living on the street, they are still surviving without a home, day to day, living homeless. That's not an easy thing to do, especially when you're not well. But they do it some of them do it for years.
Yeah, I'm doing it forever. I've met so many people. I've shared car parks with them, campsites, you name it. And I've gone to know a lot of homeless people and cook them a meal and hang out and have personal relationships with them. And, mate, like, that's the other thing about doing this life. It really humbles you because you're on the street. You know, you're on the street all the time. You're always in the public eye. And, you know, it's a real eye-opener.
Yeah, totally. You really have stepped out of the normal way of living. Like, so I had a van when I lived in the States, and converted. It was like a Chevy Astro van, and converted it into a kind of a bit of a psychedelic camper. I had some green fur on the walls,
I saw it on Instagram.
Did you see it?
Yeah, I saw it, bro. That was
dude. I miss that van.
Yeah.
I miss it so much, man. I had to sell it because we moved back to Australia, and unfortunately, the van. A guy did this beautiful, like a real fancy conversion on it, and then got in an accident and rode it off, which is a real bummer. So that van is no longer alive. But we only went on a couple of adventures out there with it. But there's something really exciting about being able to have very little and survive with very little. Even if I think everyone can relate to that, even if it's just for a weekend. Some people want a lot of stuff. But for me personally, there is something very cool about being able to go, okay, how small can I make my amount of stuff and be happy with what I'm doing by fitting everything into a van for the weekend or for a week or whatever. It's an interesting way of living, and and the discomfort that comes from doing it and trying to make it work is also a really it's a good teacher. I've found I always come out of it feeling much more capable and really loving it. You all the junk that we have in our lives day to day kind of fades away, and you really get back to a very
basics.
Yeah, back to basics, man. And so that's where you're at now. So you probably don't even remember the stresses that you would have had back when you were living the city life now. I mean, it feels 6
like
years in.
Lifetime ago. I remember little bits and pieces, of course. But this is so normal now that living like that would be out there for me. But coming back to what you were saying about having less than that, one of my things I live by, one of my philosophies is less is more. The less things you have, the more freedom you have.
Yeah.
The less things you need to maintain, store, pay for, fix. Everything breaks. You know? And when you have things that are really precious, it's like you have that attachment, and you know what they say about attachment. Attachment is the root cause of all pain and suffering, whether it's material things or relationships or whatever. You know, you break up with a partner, you're attached to them, and then you're broken sometimes. You know, if you haven't done inner work, you know, you go through a lot of pain and suffering because you're attached, or you know, you have a really nice vehicle. You know, if my 370Z was written off back in the day, I would have been so destroyed. You know, in the end, all these things, they were no use to me. just sold them all off and just cashed in and took that money and literally bought my freedom so that I bought time. That's what I did. I bought time so that I could then invest in myself and find out who I am, heal my traumas, and get on track to fulfilling my purpose. I'm no longer, back in the day, I was money driven. It's all about profits, isn't it? We need to buy stuff. We need to pay bills and rent and buy a house and all that. Once I was on the road, I was no longer really money driven. I started becoming more driven by purpose and, yeah, other things.
Yeah. So you talk to me about how your day-to-day life is like how much money do you need to survive? What are you doing to earn money, and how much do you really need to live the life you're living? Because it's a super minimal life that you're leading, right? You're in a van, and it's not even a very big van.
Yeah.
So what's
it's
your
tiny,
what's your financial situation like?
Everyone always wants to know that because it's the first obstacle to overcome.
It is.
I just put out a video where I was living on $50 a week for food.
That's the first one that I saw, and I was like, I was almost like, how's he doing this? This is fascinating. So you're literally finding a lot of your own food.
I catch most of my food, fish, squid from the ocean, and then I'll spend about $50 a week, give or take, on groceries from markets and from supermarkets. And then fuel's probably my biggest expense.
Yeah.
It always changes, like if I decide to leave Darwin now and go to West Australia, I'm going to spend more on fuel. But right now, I'm spending $100 a week on fuel, and that gets me all around where I need to go fishing, where I want to hang out, where I want to camp, and so on, where I want to film. So right now I'm living on about $150 a week. Since I left Melbourne, I have not run out of money. I had a lot of savings, and I just literally, like the 6 months leading up to the journey, I sold everything that I did. If it didn't fit in the van, it was sold. Apart from 2 cars which I've stashed at friends and family houses that I sold over the last couple of years because I was getting low on cash, I was just literally just sold everything.
Wow. So are you working at all? Or you're just living off your savings?
No, I do little bits of work here and there. Like I have my own little business so I do fire spinning as well. I don't know if you've seen that in my videos. I'll perform with fire, which is my hobby. It's something I love doing. It's part of me because along with fishing, it's my hobby. It's my passion.
Bro, Donatello's my favorite Ninja Turtle as well.
Yeah, he's the fire one, is he? Is he fire?
He's the one with the stick,
Yeah. And so I've created a small business where I build carbon fiber, high-end fire spinning staves, and I sell them. Yeah, and I sell them. I want to put more time into that. I've sold, since I got to Darwin, I think I've sold about 4 of them. And listen, it's not much money. I don't make a lot of money off it, but it gives me something.
You don't need a lot of money.
I don't need much. But my main thing is I've still got my savings and money from the last 2 cars that I sold. So it really comes down to this. For anyone that wants to live like this, it's about being disciplined. It's about not going to drive-through. It's about not buying junk you don't need. It's about being disciplined, spending the time and working the waters, working the jetty, getting good at casting a net so you can get good bait, so you can catch really good fish. Spending 50 hours a week fishing. And I know for a lot of guys out there, that sounds like a dream. So why not make a dream come true, fish all the time, and get, 3/4 of your groceries fresh from the ocean, from the rivers, better than you can get from any fish market. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Man, you're so in touch with this physical human experience that we're having. You are like so grounded in it, because it's interesting to we can get lost in our minds and in our worries and in our aspirations and whether they be religious or whether they be professional. But at this, it's something that I try and remind myself is that this is a physical human experience that I'm having. I believe that something happens to our soul when we die. I think I was shown that through multiple psychedelic experiences. And before that, I would have probably considered myself an atheist. Whereas I don't consider myself religious at the moment, at this point in my life, but I definitely consider myself a spiritual person, and I believe that we have a spirit and a soul, or whatever you want to call it, and our consciousness goes somewhere and it came from somewhere, and perhaps it all goes back to the same place. But for the time being, I'm having a human experience. My consciousness is animating this physical body, and this physical body gets nutrients and health and vitality from physical exercise, from having my feet on the ground, from having the sun on my skin, and from eating healthy food. Now, I need to get better at doing those things. I know these things, and I have a life where, I'm a dad. I got a little girl is about to be turning 3 soon. So I'm deep in, I'm deep in the grounding of hanging out with a terrible twos. So that's grounding in a different way. It's a lot of someone screaming and tantrums and
for you, brother.
Elation and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, but I do know for a fact that those things are the best thing for this human experience, and it's just really cool to see you documenting your story of, man, you couldn't get more into that physical human experience, and it's come from a spiritual place. It sounds like, which I don't think is any coincidence that you're having a bit of a personal crisis, and then went, you know what, I need to go and be a human being hang out with the earth.
Exactly, in the real world, I call it.
Yeah.
The natural world.
Unplug, yeah. Unplug. It sounds like you need to unplug, man. Yeah, dude. So I'm really fascinated about like bush tucker and finding your own food. You're pretty good at it?
Not bad, getting better. Yeah.
So what
bush tucker around Australia is, it's not the same everywhere you go.
Yeah, it's such a massive country.
There's 10 things I can look for, and then you come to Northern Territory and maybe only 1 or 2 of those things are here. So then you got to learn the plants all over again. So in the Northern Territory, I've probably done, in 6 years, I've only done probably 3-4 months here. So now that I'm back here, I really want to focus on the bush tuckers here and the land fishing here.
That is an interesting thing, because if you have a chat with any Aboriginal folk, they will quite often say something that I've learned a lot is that I've observed them. Groups of Aboriginal folks will say, "I can't speak for that mob, but for us, these are our traditions. This is what we eat. This is what we do." And they're very clear about saying, "Look, this is the mob that lives over there. They do the things their way. They speak their own language. They eat their own food. So that makes perfect sense when you think about just how massive Australia is. That you can't. It's not a one size fits all, especially when it comes to finding food. Yeah, you can't just apply the rules that work in far north Queensland to somewhere down south of Perth or Northern Territory. It's a completely different climate. It's so massive, man. Australia's ridiculously huge
country, dude. Yeah. Like, I haven't even seen it all in 6 years. There's so much to see. But back to your question, most of my food, my main staple has always been fish.
Okay.
Fish and seafood. Squid.
Yeah.
I've got squid right now. I've got to eat. I've got some shark that I caught when I spoke to you. Was that yesterday? I've got some Spanish mackerel. Fish is my thing. It goes really well with my body. I think my heritage, going back to the islands around the Mediterranean, I think obviously my ancestors ate a lot of fish. I had some magpie goose the other day, which was I get given a lot of food as well. Like I meet people, people always give me stuff. I
Yeah.
find that when it comes back to the thing about love, community, love, connection, it's all the same thing, really.
Yeah.
When you're living the way I'm living and you're connected on the ground and you're always like there present in nature or in the public eye, um, there's more love. I connect with a lot of people. I meet a lot of people,
Mm.
and people are always offering me things. Like my mate the other day he went hunting with guns. I don't have any guns. He went hunting with guns. Got some magpie goose, which is bush tucker up here.
What magpie? What
Magpie goose.
magpie goose? What is that?
Yeah, it's like geese, a bird,
Yeah, right.
and it's black and white,
Okay.
and then native up here, and this
So
time
it's,
of
yeah,
year,
magpie goose. Yeah, makes sense.
yeah, and the goose
Yeah.
is black and white, like a
Yeah.
magpie.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they
Zebra goose. Yeah.
yeah, they taste amazing. They taste great.
Right.
It's actually more of a red meat, not like chicken at all. It's more red.
Interesting. Yeah.
And,
Right.
Yeah,
Kind of like
and
almost like duck, I would imagine.
yeah, and I'll be hunting my own ones up here soon with my
Okay.
compound bow.
Oh, you got a compound bow.
With a compound bow. I don't use it enough because I spend so much time in the rivers, on the ocean. I just love fishing, man. I hunt with a spear as well. I've got Aboriginal spears that I've made.
Mhm.
I learned many years ago up in Darwin, actually. Coincidentally, the park I'm sitting in right now, I met an Aboriginal guy from the islands up here, and he came over, and I became mates with him, and he actually taught me how to make the spears. And so I'll hunt with a spear as well, but usually just in the waters for fish, for eels, for crabs. I'm very much like a water person
Yeah. Right.
when it
And
comes to hunting.
Yeah, you were saying before how that eating that way, eating sea creatures, just works for your body. You like being there physically. Your digestion likes it. Makes sense, and that's where it sounds like that's where your skill set and your knowledge in gathering food it really lies as well.
100%, yeah.
I've seen your fishing videos, man. You've got a really impressive setup because when I noticed that you start the video and you're talking about how you're living off $50 a week and a majority of it's fish. I was like, geez, that's going to be hard work trying to catch enough fish to live. And then when you see your setup, you've got your aerator with your freshly caught bait to keep the bait alive and happy. You got your 3 rods set up. I was like, oh, he's all over it, man. And you're catching a fish in like an hour and a half, and then there's guys down there for 5 hours getting nothing.
Yeah, it just works out. And
Yeah.
the other thing you've got to remember, I'm not stuck in one place. So, most people when they go fishing on the weekend, they can only go so far.
Mm.
I choose where I go a lot based on the fishing.
Sure.
So now that I've got really good fishing at that jetty that you've seen in the video, I'm going to congregate around this area for a good amount of time.
Okay.
Because I know I've got good food here, I've got good community, good weather. Yeah, the wet season's coming up, but I'm gonna tackle it head on. I'm gonna live in the rain. I'm gonna string up a tarp somewhere and live. I've lived under tarps before. Just for the rain.
Man, there's so many things that are coming to mind now that I hear you talk about the way that you're living. So you've learned to read the environment that you're currently in. You can move if you want, but you're like, no, this environment's working for me. I know how to catch fish. I've got a bit of a community of folks I can hang out with.
Yeah.
But then you've also got to pay attention to seasonally what happens. And perhaps, I mean, the Darwin wet season is pretty brutal, isn't it?
Yeah, it can be pretty hectic. It can be cyclones. There might be cyclones this year. I don't know.
Have you? So you haven't experienced it yet?
In Darwin, no. I've had a couple run-ins with cyclones. Every time it works out fine.
Okay.
First time was within a couple months of when we first left. We were on the outskirts of a cyclone. I think it was cyclone. I can't remember the name of it. And then just last year, I was in Cairns. There was a big one coming. I don't remember. Cyclone. I don't know the name either. But Cairns got the biggest flooding of its lifetime.
You were there.
Ever. Well, I was there, and I was camping out remote, and I got the signs, and I understood them. And 5 days before it hit, I told Jody, "We got to go because this is going to be the biggest flooding that Cairns has ever had." I got the signs. I was tapped in.
What do
And
you
I told my
mean?
mate,
What do you mean you got the signs? You listened to the news, or you got the?
I got more of my personal signs.
Yeah. What were they?
I had a date written down from 3 or 4 months beforehand, and I didn't know what this date was going to be, but I'd written it down because I had a feeling that on this date something was going to go down. I thought it was going to be like a worldwide event or something. And while this date came, I was remote camping away from my van, out in this remote tropical location with a few friends. And then I came out and I heard that there was a cyclone and it had formed on that date that I'd written down. And then I thought, okay, that's interesting. And then as the cyclone came closer, the news reports were, oh, it's not going to be that bad. It's gone down to like a category 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then a friend sent me a podcast, I think it was, or a video on social media of an alternative news weather reading all the way from a guy in America. And he was saying it's going to flood. And along with those 2 bits of information, I was having really bad sleeps for those couple of days. I was sleeping and I was waking up feeling really disturbed.
Mm-hmm.
And on that morning, I realised that something wasn't right. So I said to Jody, she was in her van, I said, I'm going. I've got the signs that something's going to go down. I've had this date written down. My mate sent me a message all the way from Western Australia, and my sleeping was all wrong. Like I felt like a disturbance. So we hit the road, and we banged it all the way down to your area, Gold Coast and Northern Rivers, Byron Bay. And cyclone hit, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's not that bad, guys. It wasn't too bad." And my mate, who's got a house up there, he was like, sent me messages like, "Yeah, nah, it's all good, man. It's nothing." And then a week later, it still hasn't stopped raining, and all the Cairns got about 2 meters of rain off the range. I don't know if you've been to Cairns before. There's a range, Kuranda Range, Gillies Range. It's basically a massive mountain that surrounds Cairns. All that rain, 2 meters, had to go only one way, down the range, down to Cairns, out into the ocean. There was a king tide as well, which I've noticed because I'm a fisherman, so I keep it on the tides. So the king tides with 2 meters of rain, and Cairns got absolutely flooded. And so living in the van, not what you want. When you got nowhere to park, where everything's flooded, every park, every street, every campsite, and yeah.
So your intuition was on point, which
on point.
I think that's really interesting, man, because I think that is I truly believe that is a skill that you can learn and you can strengthen, or you can numb it with your lifestyle, with the things you eat and the things that you consume and the way that you live. Like, for instance, something as simple as this. I used to know, we're the same age. We're born in 86, right? Yes. I used to, and I'm sure you remember this, I used to remember how to get places in my car. I used to remember directions. And if I had to go somewhere new the next day, the night before, I would get out the map and I'd write down my directions and go, cool. And I'd have my route of how I was going to get there.
Yeah.
And that taught me how to get around, like Sydney. I knew when I was living in Sydney, I was pretty good at good parts of Sydney. And Sydney's a massive city and it's hard to get around.
Oh, yeah.
Now, that's completely gone. That skill is completely zero because of the maps. There's places that I've been to 50 times and I still put it in the map because I'm just on autopilot. That's just how it goes. And
become
part of me is like,
systems. Yeah.
Yeah, so dependent.
Yeah.
And then you apply that to let's say some tribal folk, or even someone like you living pretty relatively tribally. You are in touch with the land, and you learn how to observe the seasons. You learn how to, if you spend enough time with it, you can see the cycles that happen each year and maybe every 4 years, and you can see the cycles that happen every couple of months, and you can start to pay attention to the weather. And that's why some of these tribal folk, they know when it's going to rain. They know when a fire is going to come. They just know because they can.
Because they're tapped in with their intuition and with the real world. And it's just, you know what? Once you're out of the city living, I won't call it the matrix, because to me the matrix, although I use it loosely sometimes, the matrix is more in our mind, it's conditioning. But once you're out of living the normal city life, and you're not in a hurry, and your mind is not consumed with a million things you got to do, you're able to be so present and observe things going on around you.
That's it.
You start to see, I don't use the word coincidence anymore, or placebo. I call it synchronicity. You start to see synchronicities where you can see the patterns. You can see how things work in the real world, and you can very easily just test things by taking actions, doing positive actions, helping people, and so on, and then watch to see what happens next.
Oh, you can. You have the space and the time and the attention to observe how a certain action plays out.
Yes,
and
exactly.
and the reality of it is, it may take a lot longer than our chatter-filled brain may be prepared to wait. But when you're living the life that you live, you have the patience and the time to see how it plays out and actually observe it. And that is
life is life is no
really
longer
amazing.
Dictated by time and money. And once you take the time out, the days, the time, the month, all that, and the money out of the equation, it changes everything, I believe. That's what we noticed, me and Jody.
Yes.
Straight away, we started noticing it.
It totally would. Well, you think about how, or what time do you get up? Oh, I get up at 6 a.m. and I do this. But for you, it's probably like, well, I get up because I need to go fishing. That's the first thing I need to do, let's say. And what time will that be? It's like, well, that depends on what the ocean's doing and what it was doing yesterday and what the rest of the weather's doing and what season we're in and what the tide's doing. And you kind of just have
what the moon's doing.
And what the moon's doing, man. You have to get into this symbiosis with the natural, real world.
Yeah, exactly.
To be able so the time doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And the time's made up anyway. The dates, the Gregorian calendar, it's all been
it's just a system it's all just systems that we've invented to measure things.
Ancients, all the ancient people, all the tribes, they always went by the sun and the moon, and that's how I live now most of the time. Sun and moon.
Yeah,
that's all that really matters. The sun and the moon, they're always there. They always will be there. Although we've got two moons now, apparently, but I don't know about that. I heard apparently with this little comet that's being caught, but I don't know if I believe anything that's told on mainstream media news.
Yeah, I tend to feel the same these days. I've been lied to too many times. You know, I can't be trusted. Yeah. Nah, man.
Yeah, sun and moon, bro. That's all that really matters. Get up with the sun. You know, follow the moons, the tides, the cycles. And it's a great way to live. And I encourage as many people as they can to get in tune with the natural cycles, the sun and the moon.
Well, it's hard to monetize you as the system. You know, you are capable of living without the systems that are in place, which is not really very easy to. Yeah, like the amount of you really stepped out of it, and there's not really much that can be done. Apart from fraudulently arresting you. Like as long as you keep out of trouble legally, man, you can just keep doing this. Like the skills that you have, it's very interesting. It's like you've just gone, no thanks, I'll be stepping away from that.
Yeah, and it took at least a couple of years to really unplug from everything. Like it was obviously the progression.
Yeah.
The last couple of years, I've really, really embodied it.
And do you have any regrets or any plans?
I still have money, and I still use money, and money's still useful for some things.
Of course.
The more self-sufficient you can be, the more freedom you have, the more likely you probably are to start fulfilling your purpose on the planet. And yeah.
Well, that is something that is an exceptionally challenging thing to realize for most people. Like, what is my purpose on this planet? Like that's one of the things that kind of keeps me up at night sometimes. That's a hard thing to realize. Like you can kind of, and because I feel like maybe there are some people who, when they're very young, they just know. But I think for most of us, that is a very elusive snake to catch. It slips away and it changes. I know that my perspective on the world and my life has drastically changed as certain things have happened within my life and what I thought I wanted and who I thought I wanted to be, and it changes. So it's a tricky thing.
Purpose evolves, and my purpose in 5 to 10 years from now might be completely evolved to something else.
Yeah.
I feel like whatever you want to call your higher power, whether it's like high self, God, universe, all these things, all the religions, it's all the same thing, really. And I believe that your God, whatever it is trying to force you, trying to help you, aid you to get onto your path, to fulfill your destiny, and things will happen in your life that you perceive as bad, but things will happen and they'll be good. And it's all these things that are happening are about getting you on track to fulfill your destiny. And it could be simple as pains in your body, in your back, that force you to change your diet, change inflammatory foods that you're eating, or start walking more, start training more, start loving yourself more, and give yourself more time to get massage, go do an ice bath, whatever. It's all about your body is trying to get you to fulfill your purpose.
And I think that it's up to the individual to pay attention, because it can be, if we're too kind of plugged in and spending too much time staring at a screen or eating really dense, rich processed foods that are basically giving you a drug response, there are the kind of things that you're talking about, there's a subtlety to it that it's easy to miss. And from my experience, I have had to, and I'm not, it's not like I'm mastering it by any means, especially at the moment. I'm very much in the system that I'm living in. I've got too many things bouncing around my head all the time. But things that I have learned is that I need to slow down in order to be able to listen and hear those subtleties. It's like, I think a great example of it is a meditation practice. You talk to anyone who's never meditated before, and you can be almost certain that the response they're going to give is, I can't meditate because I can't quiet my thoughts. But and it's like, sure, that's the point, because
that's why you're doing it.
That's why you're doing it. And the point is to be able to observe the thought patterns that just happen in your mind. When you realize that the patterns are not you, it's just chatter, and you can actually detach from that. For me, that really blew my mind. And I was like, hang on a minute, I can I'm not my thoughts. I can actually separate from them. There was this exercise that I saw. It said, set the intention for the next 10 seconds that you are not going to think anything, and then close your eyes, meditate for 10 seconds, right? Did you think anything? And the answer invariably is yes. It's like, yeah, that wasn't you then, because you set the intention that you weren't going to think. And then so all this stuff that happened, that's just chatter. So that, for me, I was like, oh, wow, I can separate from that. And then when you get good at doing that, you can actually pay attention to these little things that come up, like exactly what you were talking about.
Exactly.
Oh, this niggle in my lower back, or and then you can actually listen to what's being told to you instead of just not even hearing it.
Yeah, everything's a message, down to every single skin condition or breathing problem you have. Everything, your body, it knows. You know, it can heal itself. It can help you to get on track, get on path. You know, I've met so many fishing, always out at jetties, fishing spots and that. Meet so many blokes coming down on the piers, drinking, chat to them a bit, you know, have a yarn with them. I meet so many guys that are like, just go to jail because they get pissed and they do stupid shit. And they come out and they just don't get the message. And I always say it to them. It's in some of my recent stories on Instagram. I'm like, mate, why don't you just stop drinking? And then you won't be going to jail for a couple of days and coming out again or whatever. And they just don't listen to the message. Don't fucking drink.
I don't think that it's okay, mate. I've heard it before. I don't think that it's a coincidence that I don't think that it's a coincidence that alcohol is one of the allowed intoxicants in the society that we live in. There are many intoxicants, and it's interesting that alcohol, caffeine, even sugar to an extent, nicotine are all not only allowed, but not so much nicotine, but celebrated.
Yeah.
And it's because what you're saying is, you know, you're not getting the message. Yeah, but that's what alcohol does. Alcohol numbs you. You like if you smoke weed or take any kind of psychedelics, the plants do the opposite. That's why you get anxious. Yeah, because you become aware of yourself, and if you people freak out if they get too baked or something and go to a party and go to a social event because they become hyper aware of themselves. The opposite happens when you're drinking alcohol. You become belligerent and less aware of yourself. People's manners, they disappear. They don't care about others. So you're dead on, I think, in saying that, hey, maybe if you stop doing that, you would be able to see where you're going wrong. But the problem is the drinking in itself is suppressing that ability to see and hear what's going on.
Yeah. It's stopping the consciousness from awakening.
Yeah, and it's
so normalised. In Australia, I'm sure it's the same all around the world. It is part of the culture. Yeah. And this is where I've broken away from the Aussie culture, and I'm like, I'm not going to drink, and I'm going to be a positive role model for young people to show them that if you want to achieve things in life, you're better off not drinking. You're not, maybe have one or two here and there, but don't be an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And that's one of my main messages to young people is you don't need to drink. You don't need to fit in like everyone else to be, to be cool. You can be cool without drinking.
Yeah, well, absolutely. You've got this incredible discipline, and it's how did you get this, and where did this come from? Because to be able to to live the life that you live and to eat the way that you eat, like even if you just separate these things out, to train the way that you train, or to just eat the way that you eat. These are very challenging things for people to maintain. Yes, and yet you're doing all of them. It's almost like there's this snowball effect that has happened, and you've caught the wave, and now you're just fizzing down this wave. You've got the hang of all of it.
Yeah.
What
yourself, in my early years, I was very much self-medicating with, alcohol, drugs, everything. in my early days, and it was self-medicating because of how I felt about myself. Growing up, I didn't really have any positive male role models around,
Mm.
and I was getting in a lot of trouble. I was getting in a lot of trouble on the streets of Melbourne with police, with at nightclubs and that. And I think the biggest catalyst was being in a fight outside a nightclub and like getting seriously injured to the point where the cops said to me, "You're very lucky that you're alive now, young man."
Oh,
And I
wow.
had to learn how to use my hand again. I've got a bit of a scar here, hard to see on the camera.
Oh,
I had to
yeah, yeah.
learn how to use every finger again.
Oh, wow.
And from that point on, I broke up with the woman that I was with, thank God, because I spoke to her a few months back and she's just come out of jail. And she's been a drug addict her whole life. And I got a new phone number and I changed my whole life and I stopped going out and I started training in the gym. And that's where my discipline started. In the gym, in Doncaster, I got a whole new group of friends around me. I started learning about um, fitness and bodybuilding and nutrition, and I started building muscle and focusing my masculine energy onto achieving these goals.
Hmm.
And as soon as I started doing that, everything else started working out for me. Then I had more
Yeah.
confidence in myself, and I started saying, "Hey, I can do anything. I don't need to work at the TAB anymore, serving drinks and doing bets for these drunks. I can now start my own business." And I did. I started with the Ute, started delivering mattresses and stuff, people on Gumtree and eBay, and that's where the discipline actually originated from.
And it's interesting because bodybuilding and meatheads in general get a bit of a bad rap, which I don't really think is fair. Obviously, there's the side of it where it's all just vanity, and sure, that is.
I went through that. Yeah, I went through that whole vanity thing.
Yeah,
and then,
but I think the positive of it is that it's hard. You have to go through. It's simple, but it's physically hard to build your body. It takes a certain amount of discipline in the gym and even more discipline outside of the gym with what you eat and what you don't eat.
Yeah, and it was a great stepping stone for me to then going from drugs and alcohol, nightclubs, and KFC and Macca's in the morning on a Monday morning. How do you eat 3 days?
KFC in the morning. Yeah, you've
been on Chapel Street for 3 nights, and so much stuff has happened, and you've just depleted all your energy and your life force.
Yeah.
And then it's gone to the bodybuilding, which is a lot better than that. But then from bodybuilding, then that also, although that helped me a lot, then it also caused other problems to do with muscle pains, injuries, and all that, and dysfunction. Sure. And then from there, I went into more functional training because I ended up getting sick with Bell's palsy because I was eating too much stuff and using too many, pre-workout formulas and protein powders and all that kind of inflammatory junk. And so then I became more natural, so a naturopath, healed the Bell's palsy because it was my face and stopped working for me.
Oh, you got the full like.
Yeah.
Wow.
At the age of 24, 25.
Oh no.
Yeah, and that then really got me onto the path of learning the truth about health, because up until then I was seeing doctors and so on. I was still struggling with asthma my whole life.
I'm an asthmatic, dude.
Inflammation. That's all it is. Change your diet.
It's interesting because I've improved it so much in the last couple of years where I changed my breathing to, have you heard of the Buteyko method? Like, it's basically only nose breathing.
Only nose, yeah.
Yeah, it's essentially where the simplest way of putting it is you should only ever breathe through your nose. So the only times that I now breathe through my mouth is if I'm speaking or if I'm singing. Otherwise, it's all nose breathing. And that has changed my health drastically.
Good, yeah.
But I need to improve my I need to improve my diet. But on this nose breathing thing, man, if you go down the rabbit hole if you haven't already, because I think you'll find it fascinating. It's basically the philosophy is never breathe through your mouth. There's these our nose is just designed for breathing. It somehow we get nitric oxide in our body. The hairs in our nose filter the air and cool the air. It transforms your health. And there's people where you tape your mouth at night with this mouth tape so that even if you don't do the nose breathing during the day, you get a full night's sleep only breathing through your nose, and it cures their snoring and all kinds of things that it helps. And it's a fascinating little hack that I don't think enough people know, because I'm really into these things, trying to figure out the truth about health. And trying to get to the bottom of it. And there's fuck all money to be made in making someone breathe through their nose. There's a few products you can sell, but the big pharma can't make any money off that. It's like fasting. You can't make any money off people not buying something. These things that are true, there's no coincidence that they're the simplest, and they quite often cost nothing.
It costs nothing, I know.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show, our whole economy, not all of it, but a big chunk of the economy, I call it the unconscious economy.
Yeah.
It's just feeding more unhealthiness, more pain and suffering, more destruction of ourselves and the planet and everything around it. And I feel like this whole entire system just needs to collapse and be rebuilt with a more conscious kind of base to it, where we're not capitalizing on unhealthiness, on destroying ourselves, destroying our health, destroying each other through wars and everything.
It's a mess, dude.
Yeah,
it is a huge mess, and I think it is collapsing slowly but surely. You look at something that I've found quite concerning and depressing, is that physically we're in the most technologically advanced and developed time that we've ever been in throughout known history, depending on what you're into. But
exactly.
I've been down those rabbit holes as well, bro, and they're pretty wild. But anyway, that's we'll put the tinfoil hat on for that one, and we'll do another one. But how the quality of living is the best it's ever been, but yet people's mental health, I could be wrong about this, but it seems as though it's getting to the point where it's the worst it's ever been.
I think you're right, and I think our physical health too, for the masses, is probably the worst it's ever been too.
Yeah.
Because of the foods. Listen, to me, food is only one thing. Food is medicine. We have two different types of food in this day and age. We have medicine food, and we have poison food. And every time I go out, if I go out and go out with friends, they shout me a meal or whatever, it's 9 times out of 10, it's poison.
Sure.
Because of the oils that things are cooked in, because of the added chemicals and sugars and all this crap.
What's your eating and your diet philosophy? What are the truths that you know that you've tested out on yourself?
Really simple. Eat real food. Eat real unprocessed food that comes from the earth.
Right.
And so I'm living on a few vegetables, not many vegetables, but a few, mainly potatoes, seafood, meat, eggs. I eat a lot of eggs. I stay away from processed foods. Cooking, I'll only cook with either butter or ghee, usually butter, and coconut oil. That's the only 2 oils I'll cook with.
Yep.
I will not touch vegetable, canola, any seed oils. No matter what they say, they're terrible. Inflammation. Yep. Once I took them out, I really healed, because I feel like they really interrupted my digestive system. They cause bloating, and of course alcohol as well. That's really bad for our digestive system.
Are you eating much sugar?
The only sugar I have is natural sugar in a piece of fruit. Okay. I don't have any processed sugar at all. I don't buy it. I don't ever. It's like,
do you have anything like honey or anything like that?
I have honey. Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I buy honey. I am looking for sugar bag honey at the moment, which is a bush tucker up here. So the native bees, which are stingless, the tiny little black bees, they produce a really sweet honey. So I've been looking for their hives at the moment. I haven't found any.
Mm.
I stay away from sugars at all costs because
Yep.
I found that the processed sugars were probably the number one cause of my asthma attacks.
Really,
Yeah,
the sugar.
yeah, the sugar.
Because you know it's interesting, dude. I've found that since doing the breathing thing, I notice one of the things that they taught me that I learned about with this Buteyko method is to observe when I'm having a hard time and when I'm feeling good with my breathing, because there's a little trick that they would give you, like the I've cut down my medication use by like 95%.
Awesome.
I almost never have it. I have a Ventolin with me very, very rarely.
Emergencies and that.
Yeah, but there's what I do now in order to, instead of taking a Ventolin, if I'm feeling really tight and it's not going away, is you exhale out the nose and then you hold for 10 seconds and then breathe calmly through the nose. So you feel what they call a bit of air hunger. And you do that maybe 3 times, and more often than not, it goes away. That is like, that becomes like a Ventolin, and it's been amazing, dude. But the thing that's really interesting is I notice now after doing this and consciously trying to, those 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks when I was stopping myself from breathing out my mouth and only breathing through my nose, especially when working out, I became so aware of my breathing, which is something I'd never really been that aware of. And I would notice how when I would have a big meal, if I would have alcohol or if I'd overeat or if I'd have, something with a lot of sugar or processed food, I'd feel, especially with alcohol, I'd feel like I'd be getting asthma.
Yeah.
And it would come.
What kind of alcohol were you drinking? Was it like stuff with sugar in it, do you reckon? Or
probably.
Alcohol?
Yeah. I mean, it's, I'm a pretty, like a cocktail, like a tequila cocktail or something. So there'd be sugar syrups and stuff in that. Like, I don't really drink much. I drink socially, and that's about it. And that's not very often these days. But I notice it now. It really gets me, and I'm able to, what we're talking about before, tapping into going, I'm listening to what's happening, going, oh, that's because of what I like. I'm going, oh, why have I got asthma right now? Oh, it's because I'm full. I ate junk. Drank alcohol. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I feel like most people, because we're not really taught how to listen to our bodies in school. We're not taught any of that stuff. Everything we're taught is very external. I feel like most people don't really want to take responsibility for their own health because it comes down to one thing: discipline. It's a lot easier to go to the doctor, get bulk billed, and then take a pill, take whatever, some kind of medication, and then be like, oh, I can just keep eating all this junk. I don't need to change anything.
Yeah.
And most people don't want to take the harder path, which is clean up the diet, train a little bit more if they're not training at all, maybe, and change things up because they're addicted to the sugar, they're addicted to whatever it is.
But that's a big point. Yeah, because it's there is a withdrawal period. You literally have to go through a very uncomfortable amount of time, like coming off caffeine, coming off especially sugar and processed food. These like intensely satiating foods. To give that up, that's painful.
They make us feel good.
Yeah,
everyone
you get this.
Feel good.
Yeah, man.
Once you do get off them and you still start tapping into your real energy that you get from eating healthy, moving the body, you get to the point where I'm at now, and that is, I feel good. I can go to a doof, I can go to a party, I can go there completely straight, dance, spin my fire stick, talk to people all night long, get a good night's sleep, and I feel so good that if someone goes, hey, do you want to take this? I'm like, I'm good, thanks. I feel good already.
Yeah, right.
So it really is, like, it's really worth, and I'm not against, I don't frown upon anyone that does stuff because I've been there myself. But I think ultimately the goal is to be able to feel good without anything, or just very, very, just made a conscious decision that I'm going to do it now and then.
Yeah, it's inspiring, man. It is. I've had a bit of a routine that I've planned out that I haven't been fulfilling because I want to feel better in my body. I want to not be tired. I want to work out more. I want to not get sick as often as I do. You know, when you got a little kid around the house, it's hard not to get sick. I saw this meme the other day that said I used to think I had a really strong immune system, but then I realized I was just good at not letting someone sneeze directly into my mouth.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, I've got this, you know, this little
hanging out with other kids.
hanging out with other kids, putting grubby hands on things, and that's part of how it goes. You know, her immune system has to cop everything in order for it to learn how to manage things. But I hadn't really considered just how much as a parent of a toddler you get sick. Like this year, fuck man, it's been rough. Me and my wife have just been hammered.
Sorry, bro.
Oh, dude, but don't feel too sorry for me because part of it is exactly what you're saying. I could be more disciplined with the edible choices that I am making, and I know for a fact. And chatting with you is reiterating this, but I know these rules that you are talking about, and you're a great example of how true they are. Like how's your health?
As a health, it's amazing. I haven't been sick for a very long time. I haven't seen the doctor, which is probably
like not even a cold, or do you get congested or snotty or anything, or like a cough or anything?
Most of the time, I'm in really warm environments, so it just doesn't happen. I don't get sick really. I did. Whenever I got to Cairns, I did like probably 5 months ago. I did have neck pain. Had some neck pain, and it was really annoying me in that. And I went and saw a Chinese herbalist and did some acupuncture on me. I'll always take the natural path. Acupuncture, I love it. You know, very rarely I need it. Most of the time I can heal my own body.
Yeah.
And he gave me some herbs and that, and I mixed them up. And he said to me that I had a cold in my neck. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I took these herbs for 3 days, and it came out of my body. And I was pretty much had a headache and bedridden for a couple of days. Apart from that, probably years before that.
Wow.
I don't really get sick.
Man.
And I put it down to digestion.
Yes.
Like your stomach really uses your second brain. And I also put it down to this, which really goes against our mainstream knowledge about the sun. I spend so much time in full sunlight.
Right.
And I drink plenty of water. And I don't really burn. Like I might go a little bit sun-kissed, but it goes straight brown thanks to my wog skin. And then and I noticed that the more time I spend in the sun, the better my digestion has gotten.
Wow.
And digestion's never been better. And I believe once your gut is fully healed, and I believe my gut's fully healed right now, that you don't get sick. You don't get really anything. Everything's perfect.
Talk me through like when you talk about the sun. I've got something to talk about the sun before I just need to post that.
Yeah.
But I just want to know about what's your day of eating. What have you eaten today? Can you talk me through everything?
Sure, 100%. I got up and I have a blender in my bed and I chuck in some bananas, water. I've got a bag of fresh ginger that I've cut up, ready to go. Chuck some ginger in, some honey, and then a few tablespoons of almond meal. I blend that up. And
almond meal?
Almond meal, yeah.
Yeah, right.
So it could be, even if there's LSA, whatever's at the shop is cheapest, you know?
Yep.
Some kind of
no. Do you drink dairy?
No.
Have you gotten into the raw milk thing? Have you been down that path?
No, I stay away from. I did when I was bodybuilding in the early days. We used to go buy bath milk.
Yeah.
I stayed away, and that was fine back then.
Yeah.
But on the road, I don't. It's about being simple. It's about being, you know.
Okay, so you don't stay away from bath milk because you don't think it's healthy. You stay away from it from a practicality side of things.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't really need it. I do buy an almond milk that has no seed oil in it that I'll have with like a chai. I'll drink chai.
Yeah.
I don't really drink coffee anymore.
No caffeine.
Really. Well, there's a bit of caffeine in this, in the
Yeah,
chai.
there's not
But
much though, man. It's
there's not much. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay. So
I'm,
you have
yeah.
your little you have your shake, your banana shake first thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then my next meal is usually eggs. Eggs with something, whether it's tomatoes mixed up together in a scramble, or I'll even make my own. I stay away from gluten and all the kind of pastas and that.
Okay.
I'll make my own flatbread, which is something that I've developed on the road, which is buckwheat flour, sorghum flour, which is like an African Indian um, flour, gluten free as well. I'll mix that with salt and water, Himalayan salt and water, and I'll just pan fry it into coconut oil.
Mm.
And I'll put some butter on it. I only use like grass-fed block of butter,
Mm-hmm.
no bad oils in it, and then 4 eggs, and that's my next
Okay.
meal.
Yep.
And then so that was my second meal. So I didn't have that today. That was yesterday. Today my second meal was my lunch, which was really late because I was running behind today. I had heaps to do. I actually had some freshly caught mackerel that I caught like yesterday or the
Yeah.
day before, and some eggs.
Okay. Okay.
Yep, cooking butter and Himalayan salt. So very
And
simple.
so, are you snacking? Like, do you just have fruit and stuff throughout the day, or?
Yeah, I have snacks. My main snacks are right now. I'm actually there is some bush tucker here, so I've been snacking on these little tiny little passion fruits that are growing on a vine.
Really?
Yeah,
You
actually in
just you
that
just
video,
pluck them off. Pop. Thanks very
I'm
much.
like, yeah, they're growing everywhere. So I've just been having a few of them.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah.
Otherwise, snack wise, um, I've got whatever's lying around. I've got a few dates in my
Yeah.
van, bananas, just whole food, you know.
And so dinner
That's all
again
I'm
is
eating.
whatever you've caught.
Yeah, dinner tonight. I'm really going to eat this squid that I caught 2 days ago. I haven't got around to eating it yet
Okay.
because I had the magpie goose, so then I had to keep the squid for today.
Sure.
And I'll probably do some mashed potato, which is
Have you got a freezer set up
staple.
in your van, or do you just do like ice
Yeah,
in your?
yeah. I've got a fridge freezer. I'm actually
Cool.
using it as a table right now to hold the
Okay, great.
laptop.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I've got 60 liters of capacity, which is heaps.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, okay. So it's super simple. It's just real food. No ingredients.
Food.
It's just actual food.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm healthier now than what I was living in Melbourne, bodybuilding 5-6 days a week,
Mm.
eating 4 meals a day. I'm healthy now because my lifestyle, less stress, less inflammation, less toxins. I'm always
Yeah.
barefoot. I'm in really warm weather. I don't have to see
How
doctors. I
how
love it.
often do you
Yeah.
stray from that eating? Like, how often do you go and have a KFC for breakfast or a palmy at the pub with some friends, or eat some shit?
Very, very rarely. Some mates
Okay.
came up from Melbourne a couple of weeks ago, and you know they come up and took me on a bit of a cruise around here, went to like the swimming holes and stuff. And they that day, food was on them. They were out on the road. I was in their vehicle, so I didn't have my setup with me and that. So I went and had with them. I had 2 meals from restaurants in that day. Apart from that, maybe once a month or something like that
Sure.
will happen where someone or meet someone or go to someone's place, get invited, and I'll have a dirty meal.
Okay.
And even then, I'll try and do it as clean as possible. Like if at the pub that day, I've got, I got a steak. Which was
Do you
alright.
eat much red meat?
Not a lot. I've got
Yeah, I
no
suppose
problem
it's
with red
yeah.
meat. I don't have any problem, but it's expensive, and
Yeah.
I'm not. Listen, there's cattle out here that you can hunt. There's
Oh, really?
buffalo out here that you can hunt. Yeah, we've got wild everything up here in Northern Territory.
Mm.
But I can't justify killing a whole cow.
Yeah, I mean, if you could freeze it, it would be amazing if you had somewhere to store it, because
Yeah.
then you could eat for a year. But where are you going to put it?
Exactly. So
Yeah.
up here, no, I don't eat red meat.
Sure. Sure. That's right. Okay, so the Sun. I remember seeing this documentary. I think it was called "Eat the Sun," and it's about these guys. This dude who he discovers this group of people who claim that they don't eat any food and that they just sun gaze, and they go and barefoot at sunrise and sunset. They stare directly into the sun, and they get they don't need to eat any food. And this guy, there's this kind of I think he's an Indian guru kind of guy who is leading the group, and claims that he eats no food. And they did some test on him where they followed him they kept him, they monitored him 24/7 for like 2 weeks or something, or maybe it was more, and he ate nothing. And he just looked at the sun. But then there's a part in the documentary where they catch him at a restaurant, and he's having like a full-on Indian meal, some big curry and all this stuff. So it's kind of like, I don't know if does that mean it's all out the window? Does that mean he just does it sometimes or what? But this is a claim that if you go down these rabbit holes, because it's interesting, I like to know if there's part of me that thinks maybe you can do that for a certain amount of time. I mean, I know people can fast for. I think it has some
truth to it. I wouldn't try it, but I feel like the sun energizes me. So long as I'm drinking water, I feel great. I feel great out in the sun, and I'm probably the most naked person here in Darwin. I wear more clothes than the Aborigines. They've always got tops on. No, seriously. Right. I've got a bit of reputation here just to be the guy with no shoes and no top on anything in the sun, and I barely wear a hat. I wore a hat the other day backwards, and now I've got this line. I'm like, no more hats.
That's what you get with us baldies, man. Yeah.
That's it. I don't. The sun's been getting a lot of bad rep for many years now, and it's getting so much bad rep that I'm starting to think that the opposite is probably true about the sun.
Yeah.
Especially around the cancers and that.
Yeah.
I did a story the other day about it, and I like to be controversial about things. My skin is not aging. I'm the same age as you. I don't feel like the sun has aged my skin. And I've spent the last 6 years in as much sun as possible. I don't avoid it. I'm fishing. I'm out there.
You know what is an interesting interesting idea? I wonder if perhaps you were spending as much time in the sun as you are, but then smoking cigarettes, drinking, and eating all the junk, then that's got to come out somehow. And perhaps then it'll turn you into a wallet, and maybe you'll get all the other problems. But
I think it's got a lot more to do with that, the unconscious, behaviors and the toxic shit we're putting in our bodies, in our mouths, is basically, I think that's responsible for all the disease. I don't think it's got anything to do with the sun.
Yes.
And so I think sunscreens are probably a lot more. I heard that one of the toxic chemicals in the sunscreens are actually carcinogenic.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I've heard that too. I think it was even...
eat it. You're not supposed to put it on your skin, being the biggest organ in your body.
That's right. It just absorbs like 70 or 80% of it, just goes into you anyway. So, and I heard that not that long ago, and ever since then, whenever I shave my head, instead of doing moisturizer or anything, I stick coconut oil on my head.
It smells good too.
So it's great. Yeah, I went and bought some of this. It was, what's it called? Tallow. So it's basically beef fat from the. And the woman at the counter said, what do you use this for? And I was like, I've never bought it. I'm just planning on cooking with it. And she was saying, there was a lady who uses it for moisturize. And I went, really? How does it go for moisturize? She said she really liked it, but she smelt like a burger. And I was like, if you can handle, if that's what you're into, then great. And, two birds.
That's what we did before, the 1930s, and Crisco vegetable oil, which was originally, I'm sure you know about it, the cottonseed oil.
Yes, it was what was it, an engine lubricant, oil. Wasn't it?
Yeah, engine lubricant, and like I can actually run my Delica, my 440 motor, the diesel, on vegetable oil that we get from fish and chip shops, you know.
Dude, I was going to ask you, is that something that you have looked into, turning your
100%.
truck into biodiesel?
100%, yeah. The only reason I haven't done it is because I'm a nomad and I move around. But I have mates in far north Queensland who do it and have got the equipment set up. I know a guy here in Darwin who runs his bus tours and he runs his Land Cruiser off-road as well. And it's very doable. And
wow.
Maybe in the future, it's definitely a backup plan.
So the issue, I don't really know how it works, but once you've done the conversion, you can't swap between diesel and biofuel, can you? You can?
100%, yeah.
Well, so if you were to do the conversion there and you have your steady supply of oil, you could use that, and then when you go to the next place, you could just use diesel?
100%, yeah. And I've got 2 tanks already set up. I've got a reserve tank.
Wow. So, do you think you might do it?
I believe that when the time comes, yeah. If diesel becomes obsolete or if it gets to $5 a litre or something, I have to do it.
Yeah.
At the same time, I'm not attached to anything. So if I have to, let's say 10 years from now, it's not sustainable at all to run this vehicle, that's fine. I'll go another way. I'll walk. Like the guy Ellie in my video, I'll ride, bike, or a horse. I'll do whatever. This journey is not going to stop anytime soon. It has to go on. The adventure never ends.
Yeah. Okay. This is you. This is life. This is it.
Yeah. This is it. I'd really like to do the horse thing. I really like a horse because it's connected. It's an animal. You know.
But what does that mean? Like, how do you travel Australia on a horse? Where are you gonna? So just camp everywhere?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yep. Just have a swag on the back. Maybe have 2 horses. Yeah. One with me, and then the pack horse to carry the swag, food, equipment, water, whatever, fishing rod, beer.
Wow, man, that would be. I mean, that's the logical transition for you. That's the only. Yeah. You know, if you didn't think it could get any more like hippie, that's how you do it.
Hey, there's people already doing stuff like that. I heard of a guy in Western Australia that travels up and down the coast, a little bit inland, and he's got several camels. And I haven't met him yet. I'm sure I will one day.
Yeah.
But I'm not the only one. There's a whole community out there in Australia of gypsy nomads doing it different.
Wow, man. Not even powered up, just living with a camel.
Yep. Like cameliers, you know. We have a history in Australia, especially in Western Australia, of the Afghan cameliers. And in the old days, we literally had Afghani dudes with camels that would transport things all up and down the west coast. Yeah. Supplies and all that.
I heard that apparently apart from like in Africa, Australia has the highest amount of camels.
Yeah, we got really good camel stock here because, like in Africa, I think the genetics and stuff aren't as good anymore because they've run out of camels. I don't know what they did to them, but in the Northern Territory, in the desert and that, I remember coming through Uluru and that, through the desert, and we used to just pull off the side of the road in our big truck that me and Jody had. We had the most impressive 4-wheel drive truck with a house on the back, fully kitted out. Oh, it's in the start of my videos. In the intro, there's a big yellow truck. Yeah, that was our home for many years.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So we'd just come off the Stewart Highway, main highway, and drive off into the sand dunes, into the desert. Yeah, and we've seen these massive footprints, these massive round footprints with like 2 toes, and that was the camels. And then
wild
camels.
Next
couple of days, wild camels. The next couple of days, we actually saw wild camels run around, and we'd like try and get good footage of them. So we'd chase them in the truck through the bushes and through the dunes and that.
Yeah,
we got a lot of camels out there. We got everything up here. We got camels, we got buffalo, water buffalo, horses, donkeys, cows, pigs. We got everything up here.
Yeah, it's wild. So how long are you planning on staying where you are in Darwin, and where to next?
I really love the Northern Territory.
Uh-huh.
I want to do the wet season here, which is starting around December. It's going to be a challenge, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I love the fishing here. I want to really connect with the land here and get to know all the bush tuckers, which I haven't studied yet. A lot of them
Yep.
don't start fruiting and flowering until the wet season. So um, I feel like I'm going to be in the Northern Territory for at least a year.
Yeah, wow. Oh, cool. Cool. It's
Yeah.
it's
But
it's
I also want to do a big trip out. Have you heard of Arnhem Land?
I have no idea. Is that right in the
It's,
middle?
it's right at the top, kind of right towards Queensland. And it's like the last frontier. It's like the wilderness of Northern Territory. It's Indigenous communities out there.
Mm-hmm.
You need permits to go out there, and the fishing will be next level, and the culture out there is next level too. Because they're dry communities, so there's a lot of opportunity there to connect with Indigenous and to learn
Mm.
off them.
Yeah.
So I feel like I want to, after the wet season, I want to go out there and spend a good amount of time in the
Man,
real wilderness.
that would be amazing to see how those folks
Yeah,
live, and I
yeah.
bet they've been living out there with similar practices for like thousands of years.
Yeah, it is similar, but once again, because of colonization, it's they are living very Western as well.
Okay, right.
Because mainly because the church came in, the missionaries came in and converted all the people to Christianity pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
So
Told them they had to
yeah,
live this way, not that way, and yeah,
yeah, it's going to
yeah.
be amazing. And I'm just trying to right now. Also, want to hang around Darwin because, like I told you, I'm actually when it comes to filming, editing, and all that, I'm still learning. I'm an amateur at it, and I don't want to go out there until I've got all my filming gear and stuff sorted 100%.
Sure.
Because once you're
Yeah.
out there, if I need I broke my microphone a couple of days ago. If I need a piece out there, it's going to
Forget it.
interrupt everything. So
You might need to stock
can't
up
look
on
forward
like
to.
two or three of everything in case,
Yeah,
because
pretty much.
you're not. There's probably no Amazon out there.
No, Amazon, bro. It's wild.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
and those things, you get the hang of a good workflow with like even doing this podcast, man. It's a lot of work, but you get the hang of how to streamline it and get the process happening. And your channel's doing well, man. It looks great. I
thanks,
think
man. Yeah,
you're doing really well. So it's only going to get better too, which is exciting.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised. I thought it was going to take me about a year to get to this point. They've actually monetized me already, but I've opted not to take any money. Yeah,
Okay.
because I'm like, you know what? I could put ads on it right now and then get a couple of dollars a
Sure.
month. And I'm like, nah, I'd rather just give value to everyone, not put ads on it. And then, if I can get $1,000 a month or something, then it's worth monetizing.
I feel you. Yeah, well, that's a
Yeah,
cool thing to work towards, especially with the lifestyle that you have, because then you literally can do it indefinitely. You just document what you're doing,
100%.
and and you're laughing.
Yeah, 100%. And I've got another thing in the pipe works, which is pretty much set up. My best mate down in Melbourne, he created NDIS company, like a what do you call it? NDIS, like daycare.
Okay.
So he's actually set up for me a respite service. So very soon I'll be taking on clients from Melbourne up here, taking them on little mini bush adventures.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
How
that's
cool is that?
awesome,
Yeah, so I'm
man.
getting
Because
paid from that as well.
that'll be great. Like I feel like, I mean, just a day and hanging out with you, like a day in the life and seeing, you know what? Let's go and forage for some mangoes. There's a bunch of fresh mangoes out here. Let's go grab them. And like even just when I saw that video of you doing that, it's really fascinating, man. And to just go, oh yeah, there's food everywhere.
Food everywhere. Just go look.
Yeah.
And you just gotta step outside of the social norms and be like,
Yes.
I'm not gonna go collect mangoes. And the next minute, everyone's crowding around with shopping bags saying, "Can you have some mangoes?" And you make some friends, connection, get the good footage. Everyone gets to eat, mate. End of the day, I've realised all we really need is two things in life: our nutrition, which is food and water, which is everywhere, and we can literally create it because we are the workforce, we are the money, we are the energy that runs this globe. And the other thing is community or love. That's all we need.
Yes.
We don't need much. Yet I feel like the focus in our world is so based around material things and creating material wealth and making money that we've actually lost focus of what's really important. Our priorities are so messed up that most people are eating 90% poison chemicals and focusing on stuff that doesn't matter and stuff that just not only does it not matter, but it actually destroys ourselves, humanity, and the planet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's my biggest message is let's focus on what's really important, guys. Food
Well, and I think, and I love it. You're doing it well, man. And I think that seeing you doing it in such an extreme manner, for me personally at least, it's really inspiring. I mean, you don't have to do it as extremely as you do. I know that I have a wife and a daughter, and I need to be here and at home, and that's what I want to do. I like to be settled where I am, but there's a lot of the philosophies that you are preaching that I absolutely can embody and take on into my own life and improve my own health and my family's health. And it's
we're all on different paths,
Yeah.
This is my path, and it's unique to me, and there might be 1 in a million other people that's on the same path, and you're on your path, and it's about raising your daughter in a conscious way and teaching and being a good role model to her so that she knows what real food is and what healthy practices are in life.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah. The fire stick.
Yeah.
Dude, it's cool. Fire stick. It's like, have you had any injuries?
Heaps. Yeah, I've had a couple serious burns.
Really? 1
here, 2 there. I hit myself in the lip the other day. The whole inside of my lip was swollen for a week and cut up. Apart from that, no, not too many. A few bits here and there.
Yeah, apart from the 3rd-degree burns in the mouth and it's fine. Yeah,
it's all good.
You got to have a little bit. You got to have a little bit of crazy danger. That's the third thing you need. You need connection. You need good food, and you need a stick that is on fire flying around your body. Yeah.
And people love it. It's entertaining. It's inspiring. It makes me a couple of dollars here and there so I can put fuel in gypsy van. Yeah.
I feel as though something like that is perfect for, like, someone like you. You have to have something like that. Like maybe you could incorporate some nunchucks as well. You got to have something something like fire twirling's perfect. It's awesome. Whenever you see, if ever anyone sees someone with a fire stick, you're always like, oh, whoa, check that out, And
you haven't seen my swords.
Oh, you got swords?
I got 2 swords. I got 2 samurai swords, which go on fire too.
Brilliant. No,
I'll put it in the video for you, bro.
Great. I'd love it. And I feel like maybe the obvious choice is to work towards embodying all 4 of the Ninja Turtles. You've got Donatello and Leonardo. You're just going to get the nunchucks and the sai for Raphael. I don't know how you do it. Maybe that's how you eat. You just have one of those big forks and you slide it on fire and you eat your barramundi with a burning sai.
I'll do some research. I'll design and you profit.
Brilliant. Oh, awesome. Look, Mick, this has been really great, dude. It's been fascinating, to hang out with you and to learn about the way you live and what you're doing. And thanks for coming on, brother. I really appreciate your time.
Bro, thanks for the invite. This is my first podcast, and I was a little bit nervous. I was really excited too, just to get a little bit more exposure and get some messages out there, and hopefully influence some people in a positive way.
Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely, you're doing it. So where can people find you? What's the best place for people to check you out?
I'm on Instagram, Bushman Mick, and YouTube, of course, which is also Bushman Mick.
Sweet. Yep. All right, bro. Well, let's keep in touch, man. I'd love to check back in with you in a few months, and we can do another one and see where your adventures are at. I can see if you've survived the wet season.
Yeah, bro. I love
I'm sure you will. You'll be great.
I feel like we can talk for hours and hours and hours.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Awesome, man.
Bye.
Until the next time, dude.
Love your work, man.
Cheers. Likewise.
Okay.